My project investigated the relationship Ireland's position as a post-colonial state has in its National Museum by focusing on its repatriation policy. The National Museum of Ireland was established as the Irish outpost of the British Museum when Ireland was still a part of the British Empire. Thus, much of its original collections were comprised of objects acquired as a part of British imperialism. In many ways, the legacies of imperialism are built into the very foundations of the institution. Coupled with the strange place Ireland fills in post-colonialism discourse, the National Museum of Ireland makes for a very interesting case study. There are numerous reasons why this topic is particularly relevant at this time. The last year has been monumental in a number of ways. However, the reignition of the Black Lives Matter movement and the subsequent rise of the decolonisation and repatriation movement in popular media during summer 2020 can be remembered as one of the most defining moments. This led to responses from national heritage institutions across Europe. However, it did not appear as though the National Museum of Ireland responded in similar ways. To do this, I decided to carry out qualitative research, the primary research method being interviews. The original plan was to compare the policy of the National Museum of Ireland to that of the British Museum. However, issues of access meant that was not possible. So, the focus of the project shifted slightly towards comparing similar institutions on the island of Ireland, and the National Museum of Northern Ireland was chosen as a replacement. The interviews were carried out with members of staff of the National Museum of Ireland, the National Museum of Northern Ireland, academics and activists. 6 interviews in total. I then used secondary policy research to flesh out and support the findings. While I originally set out to examine the repatriation policy of the National Museum of Ireland, I instead discovered that there isn't one. In fact, there is simply too much work that needs to be done on the decolonisation of the institution prior to an effective repatriation policy being able to be put in place. There is a number of reasons for this. There is still an over-reliance within the institution to base their policies and practices on that of the British Museum and the United Kingdom in general, a sort of internal colonisation. Furthermore, there is a need for more open dialogue between all parties with stakes in the movement, from activists to museum heads to government officials. The issue of decolonisation is not just a museum one. There is changes that need to happen at all levels of Irish society. Ireland as a whole has changed rapidly since its establishment as an independent country. However, it has been slow to change and work on its remaining colonial structures. Thus, there is a struggle for it to recognise its new multicultural identity. This has left many groups feeling underrepresented on a national level. I found that there is a willingness within the National Museum of Ireland to change. However, it is not something that can happen overnight. One of the biggest issues standing in the way is the lack of knowledge regarding the right steps to take. However, a willingness to change and acknowledging the issues at hand are a very good place to start. Thank you very much.